अगर नीशे ने काफका की मेटामॉर्फोसिस पढ़ी होती देन ही वुड हैव प्रोबेबली फेल्ट डिसगस्टेड फॉर हाउ काफका एंड्स इट। वहीं पे अगर काफका ने नीशे की मेटामॉर्फोसिस पढ़ी होती देन ग्रेगर साम्सा, which is the protagonist in Kafka's metamorphosis, he wouldn't have ended up turning into a cockroach. And here is why. नीचे के मेटामॉर्फोसिस के हिसाब से जो एक ह्यूमन स्पिरिट है, it has to undergo 3 transformations. First into a camel, then into a lion, and eventually ends at the child. Camel spirit, it is that burden-bearing, weight-bearing spirit. Just like a camel carries heavy loads across the desert, वैसे ही जो एक camel spirit है या जो developing spirit है, it willingly asks for sacrifice, for difficulties, for responsibilities, for burden and for struggle. Because that struggle, it builds strength. क्योंकि नीशे के हिसाब से in order to question the burden, in order to question those obligations, first of all you should know how to handle those obligations, those burdens. So the camel, it symbolizes discipline, obedience, self-sacrifice and endurance. The camel, he says, give me responsibilities, give me difficulties, and give me sacrifice. Now the camel, it has gained strength, but strength alone, it's not enough. So the camel, it enters the loneliest of the deserts, and that's where the second transformation it occurs, which is that the spirit, it turns into a lion. The desert here, it symbolizes that separation from the society, that inner struggle, that self-discovery, and that solitude. The camel only obeys, but the lion, he rebels, he questions. He questions the old authorities, he questions the herd mentality, the societal obligations, and those unjust responsibilities. So he symbolizes independence, courage, and rebellion. The lion's task is to destroy the old authorities in order to gain freedom. The lion, he confronts all the great masters, the old tradition, the social unjust expectations and responsibilities, and the conventional morality. He says a sacred no to all the imposed commands and duties. And finally comes Nietzsche's third transformation, which is the child. Once the lion has destroyed the old authorities and values, the child, he creates new ones. He says a sacred yes to life, and he is creative, he is playful, he is innocent, he is self-legislative, and he is capable of a new beginning. On the other hand, Kafka's Metamorphosis is the story of a camel that never became a lion. ग्रेगर साम्सा अपनी रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटीज, अपनी स्ट्रगल, अपनी ऑब्लिगेशंस के नीचे इतना दब गया होता है कि द डे ही टर्न्स इनटू एन इंसेक्ट, हिज फर्स्ट फियर इज नॉट द इंसेक्ट और द मॉन्स्टर दैट ही हैज टर्न्ड इनटू, बट रादर ये कि वो ऑफिस के लिए लेट हो जाएगा. ग्रेगर ही मिस्टेक्स सेल्फ सैक्रिफाइस फॉर वर्च्यू, and instead of transforming that suffering into strength, he rather allows suffering to destroy him, to kind of extinguish him. And that probably would be the greatest critique of Nietzsche for Kafka. Because for Nietzsche, suffering, it's not an argument against life, but it's rather the raw material for greatness. The question is never, how can I escape suffering, but what can I become through it? But Kafka, through Gregor, he asks neither of those questions. He just gives up. So where Nietzsche describes the transformation of human spirit from obedience to rebellion to self-creation, Kafka presents a protagonist who is stuck in the first stage, unable to break the psychological chains of obedience and responsibility. Nietzsche doesn't see it as a tragedy, but rather the deepest form of human failure, the failure to transform oneself. Think about it. I'll see you in the next video. Thank you so very much.